Hello, we're here.
Hi.
Whoops, I keep saying whoops. We're having some technical difficulties. I think we're both really tired and I have hair in my lips.
That's annoying.
Oh, I love long hair. Oh no, I think that was
Fuzz.
yeah. But it does. It gets all over. Okay, we're here.
We're here on our new time.
And
12:30. We think this is gonna be the new time.
Well, yes.
There's always a new time.
Always a new time. Shami jumped on, who had an awesome shred.
Yay.
So proud of you, Shami. We just wrapped up the hardest 7 weeks, so the actual shredding part. Scans are coming in.
They are.
I'm sending the macros, the updated shred or maintenance or both macros.
You get options.
You get options. Even if you don't want them, you get options. Unless, the only time that I don't give options if someone's super lean, I'm like, okay, you definitely need, like, we had an annual shredder get down to 18% body fat. We've had a few others get under 20. And I'm like, nope, you're in maintenance because your metabolism needs a break. Sorry, trying to fix this YouTube camera there. That's better.
Just make sure you're in maintenance at least 1 to 2 full weeks before you shred again.
My email tells them if it needs to be 7 full days or 14 full days.
Perfect.
Yeah. So do we want to start by doing the giveaway for the Oura Ring?
Let's do it.
Okay, so let's talk about this real quick though. For the Oura Ring, we'll give it away and then we'll get back into it. We had 101 shredders and we only had 15 of you commit to filling out your shred trackers. So that's less than 15% of you committed to the shred, basically, is how we view it, right? So
data.
It's data.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite quotes from all kind of nutrition coaches, when people are like, I don't want to track macros or calories or whatever, I don't want to track anything. Well, not tracking anything, macros specifically, on a fat loss journey is like setting out on a voyage without a compass. You cannot lose body fat or change your body composition if you do not track what you eat. You also can't lose body fat if you're not 100% honest with yourself and track every lick, taste, bite, sip. We've talked about this. This is an Instagram post and we've talked about it in a live. You know, we've had several people, especially the moms to little ones, who are like, oh man, when you talked about that and posted that,
that little hand of goldfish and
that really rang true. I mean,
chocolate chips or whatever.
If you just get a bag of Cheez-Its or a little bag individual size of goldfish, I mean, that's 150, 130 calories right there. And then that starts to add up, right? And that's not a whole lot. So anyway, we are very proud of all of you because some of you don't need to send in the shred trackers who... Sure. We saw someone who didn't send in shred trackers who's lost 9 inches this shred.
Amazing.
So it doesn't always mean that you have to send those in, but if it's really important to you, then you are probably one of those clients that did send in those trackers. So let's go ahead. We'll talk more about that, but let's go ahead and do the drawing for the Oura Ring. I'll hold, you draw this time.
Drum roll.
Drum roll. There's 15 of you.
That mix them up. This is the big one.
Cassidy.
I love my Oura Ring. You're going to love your Oura Ring. All right. Do I have one?
You have just one. Just one.
Congratulations! Did you see it?
Michelle! I don't know which camera to look at.
I don't either. There we go.
Michelle, I don't think you're on here, and I guarantee you that Sharon manifested that for you.
Aww.
I know Sharon prays for that every night. Well, that couldn't be any better because we know you've had a little hard, tough season recently, sending her first child to college. So that's so exciting, Michelle. Congratulations. We're very, very happy for you. God looking over you a little bit. You knew you need a little pick-me-up. Anyway.
That's awesome.
We all could use a little pick-me-up, right?
Right.
I know for me, my pick-me-up this morning, because I'm always looking for the positive, is it was 71 degrees on my walk this morning.
Amazing.
Actually, I made it a run.
It's like 30 plus degrees cooler.
Yeah, 30 degrees
than
lower.
This afternoon.
Yeah, I know. Isn't it crazy that it's going to be nice in the mornings and then it gets
swing.
up to 100 during the day? But all right, Amy, let's get on our little high horses.
Our high horses. We're going to get up on our high horses.
Our high horsies.
All right. So as the scans are coming in, we are seeing, some people super excited with their results, right? They committed, they tracked in MyFitnessPal, they reached out to us via group text. They used all the tools, right? They focused on their water and their sleep. And if they had any issues, they reached out for guidance. They turned in their shred trackers. They, focused on steps, all those good things. They used the tools. They read the shred guide. Maybe they reread the shred guide. You guys have heard this a million times, right? And those clients are happy and pleased with their results.
That's right.
They use the tools. They use the data for, come on, you guys, 42 days, right? So 7 weeks, 42 days, they made this commitment. Now, it doesn't always magically mean that after 42 days, you're going to hit your goal, which is why we have the annual shred program. It takes multiple shreds sometimes to really get to your goal, reach your goal, whatever that may be. Also think about 42 days and the habits you created before then. Those habits were going on, I would bet my life on it, more than 42 days. Right? So it's going to take some time. So we're getting some clients that are also discouraged with their results. Now, in these messages, I'll give a couple examples just so you kind of have an idea of what we're talking about. In these examples, here's one, feeling discouraged, weight is higher than it has been, off track last week, so that would have been about week 6, right? So in your 2 hardest weeks, your 2 tightest, you are locked in for 14 days of really committing to the actual shred stage of our 12-week program. Why are you smiling?
Oh, I'm just smiling.
You're just smiling.
I love it when you do all the talking.
Oh, okay.
Because I feel like I'm always the talker.
Okay. We'll chime in whenever.
Okay.
So these 14 days of really locking it in, someone's discouraged and they said, I was off track last week. Off track to me, and I'm going to guess to you, means not tracking. And what the majority of people tend to do when they don't track is they overestimate their movement and they underestimate their consumption, right? So off track, didn't eat unhealthy or too much, ate too little. So I know with my personal journey, when I undereat, my body holds on to fat. Holds on to fat for energy and all the things I'm doing every day. It's not going to release my fat if I'm under eating. All right, so this person underate. Also had a few beers. We're not saying you're not allowed to have alcohol, right? I can speak for myself, especially when I have specific types of alcohol will make my joints ache. I know right away it's a toxin for my body. I have an inflammatory response. I have a toe that gets sore. I have a thumb that gets sore. My neck, it's really weird. I have a knee that just kind of aches. I'm like, I had inflammatory food, whatever that might be. So those 14 days, week 6 and 7, either track tight every single thing you eat, you sip, you taste, you lick, whatever. Include those beers, right? But the problem I see with this message I got, which is why this person is discouraged, is they didn't track, they got off track, and they had alcohol, right? So they underate, but they had alcohol, so they fueled their body with alcohol, but not necessarily enough protein, right, to maintain their muscle. So it just goes back to the 42 days really need to be focused in on the shred, and then the next 5 weeks, rolling into maintenance. Unless, of course, you talked about it already. You want to shred a little bit longer, if that works for you, and then roll into maintenance before the next shred. I want to share my story.
Share it.
I was not perfect this 7 weeks.
Oh, yeah.
I had results. I had great results when I followed it. Hey, light bulb moment. When I follow the program, it works. And then we traveled. Y'all, I have conversations with people about traveling, and I can guide you all day long about the ways to, travel. I'm not perfect. Guys, we went up to Michigan and Chicago, so you know where this is going. Deep dish pizza, like you try different things. Popcorn, might have a beer at the baseball game. Gotta have a Chicago style dog. I've never had one of those at a game.
Yeah.
So all the things. I know my body is inflammatory to gluten. I know that. But I had that dog. I knew it was gonna swell up. I did. Flew on an airplane, right? Not enough water. Like all the things. I lived them, and I came back 6 pounds up. I can also, during the holidays, I used to, before Master My Macros, be able to have like a 10 to 15 pound swing.
Oh, wow.
Yes. I don't anymore because I know how to ring it in and track, because I don't want that to happen. I want my cute holiday clothes to fit.
Yeah.
But I know for me, it's the sugar, it's the alcohol, it's the bread that I swell. So I didn't gain 6 pounds of fat.
Right.
In a week, 8 days. But I did swell up, retain water. Water follows carbs, like all the things. I had toxins in my body. I had some alcohol. We had some wine tasting. We had some beer tasting. It's just what we did. It took, and I came back and I was like, I could be mad, I could be frustrated, but I'm going to focus on my tools. I got back to the water. I got back to the walking. I got back to tracking. And sure enough, it took a week, but the 6 came back off. So how do I look at that? I could be frustrated that I didn't make the best progress I could. However, we traveled. We did a college visit that trip too. It was a lot. It was fun. I enjoyed myself. It came back off, you guys. And what didn't happen is I didn't put on and keep on, is my point.
Or keep putting on.
Yeah. Which is what I used to do at the holidays.
Yeah.
Is keep putting on. Now I might have this splurge, but then I know how to get back on track. So I guess I'm sharing this because if you had this time of stress or life happened and emergencies during this 7 weeks, it doesn't always, life doesn't always align with your 7 weeks of a shred. Get back on track. It does not take that long. It actually gets faster and faster for your body to snap back. I'm happy where I'm at. I have not met my goal, but I also, what I put on took back off and still came out ahead the 7 weeks, if that makes any sense at all. So I'm happy with that. I made progress, and now we're rolling into maintenance where you can still make progress, but you got to still track.
You got to still track, and you have to share with us. If you're really committed to losing weight, you have to share with us. I mean, we have someone who Amy and I giggle, we hear from almost every day, but man, she is making some serious progress. And we almost have to reshare this same message with her every day.
Sure, it'll sink in. It'll become automatic.
Well, I don't think it's going to be automatic. I think it's just almost like an emotional
concept
doubt to her, right? Are you sure? Are you sure? I'm eating more food. Are you sure? Are you sure? And I'm looking at her going, you have clients telling you that you look better, at her job, not in our studios, that you look phenomenal. The ringing has stopped in your ear. Yeah, your hair isn't falling out. Your clothes are bigger, sleeping better.
She's lifting heavier weights.
So
she looks toned. She looks good.
But really it's not every day. Every day we see her for sure.
Yes.
And every probably week she texts us about, are you sure? Are you sure?
We're so proud of her.
We're so proud of her. And so, but my point is that's what we're here for. We will reassure you every step of the way. But she's also been very open with us about what she's eating and if she's hit her macros and if she hasn't hit her macros and the types of things that she is eating. So the more you use us and you're open, we had one person who wouldn't open up her diary to us one time, and that told us everything we need to know. If you're not going to open up your diary, you're either not tracking, you're probably not tracking, because if you're just not committed to the program and not eating within your macros, you're probably not tracking either.
And guess what? The program's not going to work.
Is that magic?
Not magic. Unfortunately,
I wish
it doesn't happen overnight.
It was magic. We'd be billionaires.
Kidding.
We'd be zillionaires. We'd be the richest people in the world. And I'd give all that money away, most of it, right? To make sure my family's okay. But if I could go, boop, you skinny, boop, you skinny, boop. You don't even have to try. Eat chocolate cake can be 10% body fat. No, I'm just kidding. I'm a little goofy right now. Jessica, I've decided summer is not the time for me to shred. I have less time and things are too chaotic. Yeah. So for me,
schedule's just different, right?
For me, summer is a time for me to shred because I have more time on my hands, and so you learn that over the years, right? And so my husband helps me not lose it on vacation. My husband has the best, and finding an accountability partner. So this person who we're talking about who comes to us every day, her husband jumped on the bandwagon and they're both making great progress together. Yeah. I would say one of our most successful shredders this time is a husband to a husband and wife team.
Yeah.
You know, if you can find an accountability partner, it doesn't even have to be a partner in your home. It really helps. And that's what we're trying to be for you, as an accountability partner. If you will use us, you know, we've told one person who is an annual shredder, use us, use us, use us, use us. And she's like, I'm going to this time, I'm going to this time. And she never does. But, you know, some people just really always feel, Megan, I think you're someone that lost quite a few inches. I see you hopping on here.
Yay.
That is super impressive. But finding that accountability partner is great. But so my husband, when we go on vacation, he would not have a Chicago dog. He wouldn't be like,
I'm here, I have to have it.
yeah, he didn't have that mentality. So he's good for me that way.
Got it.
Yeah.
Our whole family had it, and we enjoyed it.
Good.
Actually, no, Gavin will not hit a hot. He won't.
Ellie
hit a hot dog.
loves hot dogs. I love hot dogs. Yeah. So I grew up going to the Astrodome to baseball games with my dad.
Dome dogs.
Always had dome dogs. So
those were the best.
I enjoy a dome dog with mustard and jalapenos, and people watching at the games is my favorite thing.
Oh, there's a lot of people to watch.
Yes. Especially because baseball can be fairly slow. Although thank God they introduced the pitching clock, so it moves a little faster now. But
that's true. That makes a big difference.
it makes a huge difference.
A lot of time.
Yeah. Anything else?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So a client you just referenced, and then another one we recently heard from. I want to talk about, just you and me talk about the concept of gaining muscle.
Okay.
What do you need to gain muscle? Or maybe I'll explain how I understand it and you correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay. Well, there's a couple of ways, and okay, go ahead.
This is my opinion, so again, correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay.
So if you are in a shred,
If you're in a shred, okay.
you're in a shred, so you're in a deficit.
Okay.
You are eating less calories. You are trying to shred fat, but maintain or put on muscle.
Okay.
It is possible.
It is possible.
If you're lifting
Heavy,
heavy,
hitting your protein goal.
you have to hit that protein goal.
So those two things, you have to signal protein synthesis for your body to hold on or grow muscle. Yes.
Okay. Is that easy to do?
Well, I think that's relative.
Is that a trick question?
I think it's easy to do.
Okay. Okay.
I do.
Okay. Okay, that was like a weird question.
Okay.
Ignore that one. Forget
Okay.
I asked that one. You think it, I don't think
Right.
you do. We're different. Okay.
That's why I said it depends who you ask.
That's true. Me, I'd be like, no, it's hard.
Most people don't shred well in the summer. I thrive in the summer because I have more time for myself.
Got it. Another way. Okay, can you put on muscle in maintenance?
100%, and that should be the goal.
Okay.
It is easier to put on muscle when you're in maintenance than when you're in a deficit.
That was where my question was kind of coming from. Where
And
is
this
it
is
easier or hard? Okay.
Why we always tell people. So we had a client come to us who shred, and when I saw her scan come in, because she shred with us a while ago, and then she felt like she had put on some body fat and let things get out of control. She's like, I want to shred again. When she sent in her scan, I'm like, girl, way to go. I always tell people, when you are in a surplus and not tracking your macros and eating whatever you want, lift heavy. At least focus on it being muscle that you're putting on. So you'll still be bigger because you're putting on some fat with the muscle. But if you'll put on the same amount or more muscle just by lifting heavy and turning those extra calories into muscle, you can stay just as lean. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And that's why she held on to her 4-pack that you can visibly see. Even though she felt like she had gotten a little bigger, it was all muscle.
Got it.
Well, most of it was muscle.
Okay.
Yeah, she was like, honestly, I was shocked. So that's why I always reiterate, when you're in a season of maintenance, please lift heavy. If you're a Pure Barre client, that means taking Define 2 to 3 times a week. And that is also working with heavy weights. That means sometimes if you're going from shoulders to lower body, take a millisecond to put the light weight down that you're using for the shoulder work, pick up a heavier weight to work on the lower body, right? Being cognizant of that. If you're not a Pure Barre client, that means hitting the weights at least full body twice a week, or 3 times a week, or 5 times a week, and splitting up your body parts. It's very, very important.
Okay. We had someone say scan was similar, gained little muscle. So I immediately am like, good job you
even gained
kept,
any.
Or you kept and even gained any.
Right.
During a shred state.
Right.
Because it's harder during the shred.
It's almost impossible.
Than it is.
Typically the clients that we see put on like 3 pounds of muscle during a shred is because they were under eaters. Right?
So now they're eating enough.
Those who are overeaters who are shredding, you'll see them usually lose a little bit of muscle.
Because they probably have a surplus, especially if they were working out.
That, or they're just in a deficit and they've been eating in a surplus, right?
Got it.
Whereas women who have been under eating, the body's like, oh my God, this is amazing. I can fuel your muscle now with the amount of calories I actually need, even though it's a deficit, right? That's the only time usually you see people in a deficit put on more than a pound of muscle. Yeah. But you got to lift heavy and you have to hit your protein goal. Yeah.
Lift heavy, hit the protein goal, and hit all the macros. They all are important, especially the carbs. Carbs are important too.
Yes.
For the muscle building process, right?
Yeah. A lot of times, like I have friends that are nutritionists that are, proponents of higher fat than carbs, but one of them in particular is like, I'm too lean and my veins are popping out and my husband doesn't like it and it really doesn't look healthy. So she's had to lower the fats and up the carbs.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's that balance there.
And adjusting that to stay in within her
calorie
goal. Yeah.
And she hits her protein goal, which is always 35% of her diet.
Okay.
My time for myself is getting a massage, Heather. I actually got one today, and she noticed today that I've gotten slimmer, and she mentioned it. I see her every month. It's been 3 months of me lifting weights for anyone to notice, but it made me feel good today.
That's
awesome. That is so awesome. Love to hear that, Carrie. Thank you for sharing. Like every win, no matter how small, how big, how long it's taken, is a huge win in my opinion,
Agreed.
Yeah.
Another client was asking about when it comes to gaining more muscle, these are her words, which I love because it's true. It's going along with exactly what we're talking about. It appears it's going to take much more than what I am currently doing for it to appear significant on the scan. Again, this was during a shred state. This client still put on a little bit of muscle, which you just said is the hardest time to do that.
Right. It is very hard.
I just wanted to reiterate that, and that during maintenance would be an excellent time to really focus on hitting your protein, hitting your macros, and lifting heavy.
Yes.
Okay. That, because she wants to know what's the normal amount or rate to gain muscle. No easy answer on that one.
Well, if you're in maintenance or a surplus, women scientifically, the most they can usually put on in a month is a pound of muscle.
Okay.
Now this is if their metabolism is good, they haven't been under eating for years, they're not in a shred, they're in maintenance or a surplus. Anywhere from a half a pound to a pound of muscle is what you can gain. I know this client though, she doesn't want to go into a surplus. It's going to kill her. Yeah, because she's going to gain weight. You're going to gain some fat with that muscle, but you have to. If you're trying to put on a half a pound to a pound of muscle every month, you're going to have to be in a surplus. You are going to creep up in inches. You are going to creep up in a little bit of body fat. That is normal, not a huge amount, but that's why you have to go into these cycles of maintenance or a surplus shred, maintenance, surplus shred. And then when you shred, some of the muscle is going to come off. That's just how it is. Y'all, these people, these women who you see that are 45 and they're, naturally ripped, and they're not, I don't want to say ripped, but they're very fit and they have lots of muscle. It has taken them like
years,
10 plus years. So, I have friends who are like that, and they're like, Heather, I get so pissed off when women are like, I've been lifting for a year and I don't look like you. She's like, I've been lifting for 13. Like, it's not going to happen in a year. Like, that is why consistency is so, so important. Now, again, it all depends what your starting point is. For me, it's going to take a lot longer. Well, I say a lot longer, but I'm already starting in a good place, right?
Yeah.
So, but at the same time, my body's so used to lifting heavy and exercising for the last 17 years and hitting the protein goal for the last 10 that it will actually respond pretty fast, and I don't have to work as hard for it.
Faster than mine.
Right.
Where I have not been doing that for that long.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's very nuancey. But listen, you guys are in a deficit. If you're not losing weight,
something's off. You're either not tracking, you're not tracking
everything. Yes. That's why you have to track. Accurately is a good thing here. Also had another friend who's a nutritionist who This lady swears that she's in a deficit. We're looking at her food, and because she was accurate and she was tracking the same thing every time, figured out that this one like protein fit brownie, the nutrition label said it was 200 calories. That was the only thing that was really consistent in her diet, that they're like, let's look at this, because she was tracking accurately. Yeah. They actually had the brownie tested in a lab, ended up being 500 calories, not 200.
Ooh, that's
right?
a big difference.
That's a huge difference. They actually went back to the company and discussed.
That's a problem.
Yeah, and that's a big problem. So that's why it's so important to track, so you can hone in on, even if it's not accurate, if we see what you're eating every single day, well, what is consistent here? Like, we know an apple is about this much. Like, what are you eating that we don't have scientific evidence? We're trusting the label on.
Right.
Is X amount of calories or macros, right? And that's how they knew to hone in on it. Because
Well,
she was tracking everything every day.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Speaking of tracking, I'm going to dive right into something I wanted to point out on my Fitness Pal, that I don't have the free version anymore. So I'm curious if anyone wants to answer. But when you're plugging in, and we've talked about, like, you know, you're getting close, you're trying to zero out your macros, what is something you can do? Well, instead of measuring in ounces, measure in a smaller unit, such as grams. We've put this in the newsletter. You've heard us say this before. Now, something I was in the habit of, I guess the free version kind of defaults to fraction. If you switch it to decimal, I'm going to try to hold up my laptop.
Yeah.
I'm trying to hold it because we're using my phone.
Just do it, for YouTube too. You can see our ring light.
All right, can you see? All right, so right here, you actually have an option, at least in the paid version, to go by fractions or decimal, right? Fraction or decimal, yes. Yeah. If you go to decimal, now instead of doing like, you know, what am I trying to give an example of? You can do like 1.25, or you can do like 1.34. Like, you can get really specific with your decimals.
Yes.
Versus just having to choose from an eighth or a quarter or half.
Yeah, I always hate in fractions. Like, when you want a quarter cup, it will show 0.20 instead of 0.25 sometimes.
Right.
If you don't use decimals.
That's my point.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Try to get decimals if you have that. Again, I'm not sure if the free version has it. If you have the paid version, for sure. It's just faster too. I feel like I can just do like 1.25 or 1.35, and I'm not scrolling and trying to figure out which fraction works.
I wanted to address Preet real quick, because I'm not sure if you're still on here. I saw that you were jumping on at work. Did you respond to her?
Not yet.
Okay.
But that's a good question for everybody.
For everybody.
Since
so
it's scan time.
We did this in a live a long time ago and explained and broke down exactly what the InBody scan means, like the sheet of paper and what we're looking at. But we uploaded a file a long time ago in our Facebook group. So if you go to files in our Facebook group, it's called InBody Guide. It's a PDF. If you will click on that, it will break down in detail in front of you, so you don't lose the explanation with us verbally, what we're looking at on your sheet, your InBody scan.
Thank you for bringing that up, because that's definitely something I wanted to talk about for everyone, since it's scanning time. Keep in mind, when you get this scan, it's going to say on the top right corner, it's going to say, you know, I don't have one in front of me.
How much fat you should lose, how much muscle you should gain.
Like, lose fat, right?
Yeah,
gain muscle. So take that with a grain of salt. You're looking at the big picture, and the machine might say...
The longer you shred with us, the more I look for trends. I never look at your scan as completely accurate. And this is a good one. We have a shredder who's gone from 30% body fat from COVID, basically, and now she's down to under 20%. And I can see her in person from time to time, can tell she's under 20%. She sent me her scan from an at-home scale that says she's 23% body fat. She didn't use her InBody scan like she normally does. I'm like, BS, right. I need you to get on the InBody, because that's what I have been using for your macros. I'm not using your at-home scale. I need you to come in the studio and use the InBody machine. So you got to be consistent. Just like you have to be consistent with what you're tracking, you have to be consistent with what scale you're using. But I look for trends. Had I not known her and...
Oh, right.
Yeah, then it could have been, you know, I could have been giving her a lot less food, and she should be eating more. And in maintenance, she could be losing muscle, right? Because I think she's 23% body fat. She's really 18.
Got it.
Yeah, so whatever you do, you know, look for trends and try to use the same scale every time.
And you can Google too about the InBody machine. It tells you that the best time to scan is in the morning. Yes, you can have water. Yes, you can have coffee. You need to empty your bladder before you get on the scan. It's best not to eat. It's best not to work out before you scan. However, that doesn't work in everybody's day, right? So if you scan at the end of the day and you've already worked out and you've already had breakfast and lunch, keep that routine the same when you do your next scan.
Yeah.
See if I have anything else. Covered a lot more today than I realized.
Yeah. So going into maintenance, read your maintenance section of your shred guide. What's beautiful about maintenance is if you will just continue to get your steps in, lift heavy, and hit your protein goal, you're set for success. You do not have to split your carbs and your fat exactly how we give them to you. She's team fat, I'm team carbs. So yes. I would probably take some of the fat and eat more carbs, she vice versa. Or in maintenance, if you want to, you can just continue to try to track, around the exact macros, but don't go over your calorie goal, basically. And then our next shred begins September 18th. So hop on board. For those of you that are the 12-week shredders, you were sent the email yesterday about how to upgrade to the annual. And then, some people didn't realize, like, we have some annual shredders who have had some family trauma, and they've had to pause and sit out a shred. That's totally okay. You just have to remind us, we go off of the honor system. We've had over 1,000 shredders since we started this program, so we can't really keep up with all of you guys, and our digital system doesn't have a way to track that. Like, once you purchase it, we can't go in and pause you. And the other thing, annual shredders, we had a glitch in the system. We're so proud to see that a lot of you realize that you were revoked, your access was revoked by accident, a glitch in the system, and that you want to get back in there because you don't have access. And if you are a lifetime shredder, or an annual shredder, you get lifetime access. So be sure to text us, reach out to us. That's what they've been doing. And then we can usually turn it on within 5 minutes back on for you access. So
it is a perfect time. Yes, we're sorry about that. And you mentioned read the shred guide. It is a perfect time to reread it, especially the what to expect, especially the maintenance.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And use us. Reach out to us. We're here for you. We love to hear your messages. They've kind of dwindled the past few days.
Well, it's always summer. This shred is always the one for people to stick to.
School year's starting. It's
the hardest to stick to, and now the school year's starting, so it gets a little tricky. Yeah.
Of all of them, the next one's my favorite.
Yeah.
School has started. You get in your routine. We start the 18th of September, and it wraps up right at the holidays. Sets you up for success. You're in a routine.
And you have accountability of the shred group during the holidays.
That's why I need it.
Yeah.
I got all the
There's
things.
already Halloween candy at this grocery store, and we're not even in September, so they're ready to hit you hard with lots of candy, lots of treats. Let's pack on the pounds. If you're gonna choose to eat those things,
track them
and lift.
Track them and lift. Make some muscle with it.
Yes, exactly. My doctor used to make fun of me. She'd look at my scan and she'd be like, well, if you didn't eat in a surplus, you wouldn't have gained 3 pounds of muscle, but that's okay.
But you gained muscle.
I did. I don't need any more muscle, but ironically, the InBody machine will never tell you to lose muscle, even if you have a surplus of it.
It just says 0.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That muscle is precious.
Yeah.
All right. We will see you next week.
And
I would say these next 5 weeks are really more important, or 4 weeks, than the initial 7, because the easy part is losing weight. The hard part is keeping it off. And keep emailing us your shred or your maintenance trackers, your shred trackers, and your steps taken for the walk pad.
For sure.
For me, I will go all day in this heat, but when it gets cold, I'll be busting on that walk pad because it's too cold for me.
Got it.
We're supposed to have the almanac, Farmer's Almanac is saying we're gonna have a really hard winter this year.
I haven't heard that yet.
I'm like, I'll be inside. I mean, when I go outside and my leggings, my hat, and my fingers are freezing, even in gloves, I can't do it.
Not fun.
Walk pad. Yeah. Anyway, we'll see you next week. Love you.
Mean it.
Mwah.